My name is Jean, and I was 18 when I learned that sometimes being invisible in your own family can become your greatest strength. What should have been the most special birthday of my life turned into a nightmare when my sister decided to make it all about her again. But this time I had enough. I disappeared without a word and watched from a distance as their perfect little world fell apart without the foundation they never appreciated. If you have ever felt overlooked in your own family, let me know where you are watching from, and hit subscribe to hear how I finally took control of my own story. I grew up in a family of 5 in suburban Minnesota. There was my father, a successful accountant with a perpetual attachment to his phone. My mother, an elementary school teacher who somehow never ran out of patience for everyone except me. My younger sister Olivia, the 16-year-old golden child. And my 10-year-old brother Noah, the baby of the family who everyone doted on. And then there was me, the responsible eldest daughter, who somehow became invisible despite doing everything right. From an early age, I was the model child. Straight A student, never missed curfew, helped with chores without being asked, and even started babysitting Noah when I was only 12 years old. I was the child parents should dream of having. Yet somehow in our household being reliable made me boring, being responsible made me forgettable, and being consistent made me fade into the background. Olivia, on the other hand, demanded attention in everything she did. She was beautiful, athletic, and charismatic in a way I never managed to be. She played volleyball, ran track, and participated in debate club. She had a wide circle of friends and was invited to every party. She was everything I was not, and my parents never let me forget it. "Why can't you be more outgoing like your sister?" my mother would ask, when I preferred to stay home and read. "Olivia's going to get a full-ride athletic scholarship if she keeps this up." My father would boast, completely forgetting that I was on track to be valedictorian. The inequality was evident in every aspect of our lives. When Olivia wanted a new room, my parents converted our shared bedroom into a space just for her, moving me into the smaller guest room next to the laundry room. When Olivia wanted new clothes, she got a shopping spree. When I needed new clothes, I was told to be practical and make do with what I had. There was one particular incident that perfectly encapsulated my place in the family. I had just won a statewide essay competition that came with a $500 scholarship. I came home, excited, certificate in hand, eager to share the news. My parents were in the kitchen, and I started to tell them about my achievement. "That is nice, honey," my mother said, distractedly, barely looking up from the vegetables she was chopping. "Can you set the table for dinner?" Before I could say anything else, Olivia burst through the front door. "I scored the winning point at the game today," she announced, dropping her gym bag on the floor I had just mopped. My mother immediately put down her knife and rushed to hug Olivia. My father looked up from his phone for the first time that evening and gave her a high five. "That is amazing, sweetheart. We need to celebrate. How about pizza tonight?" my mother suggested, completely abandoning the dinner she had been preparing. Just like that, my achievement was forgotten. My certificate ended up in a drawer, while Olivia's participation trophies were displayed prominently in the living room cabinet. This was just one of countless examples. When I made honor roll every semester, it was expected. When Olivia managed to pull her grades up to a B average, it warranted a special dinner. When I stayed up all night taking care of Noah when he was sick, it was my responsibility as the oldest. When Olivia played with him for 20 minutes, she was the best sister ever. The household chores were another point of contention. I was expected to help with laundry, dishes, and cleaning. I packed lunches, helped Noah with homework, and made sure everyone had what they needed for the next day. Olivia, meanwhile, was allowed to skip chores for practices, games, or simply because she had so much going on. Her social life always took precedence over household responsibilities. As the years went by, I learned to lower my expectations. I stopped looking for praise or recognition. I stopped sharing my achievements. I stopped hoping that one day they would see me. I created a quiet, separate life for myself, focusing on academics and a small circle of loyal friends who valued me for who I was. I worked part-time at the local library and saved every penny with vague plans of escape that I never quite admitted to myself. But despite all of this, there was one day I still held out hope for: my 18th birthday, the milestone that would mark my entry into adulthood. Surely I thought this one day could be about me. Just this once, I would be the center of attention in my own family. I allowed myself to believe that this birthday would be different, that it would finally be my turn to shine. Looking back, I can see how naive I was. But hope is a powerful thing, especially when you have so little of it left. 3 months before my birthday, I decided to be proactive. Rather than waiting for my parents to forget or make last-minute plans, I sat them down one evening after dinner. Olivia was at a friend's house, and Noah was already in bed, so I had their undivided attention for once. "I want to talk about my 18th birthday," I said, trying to sound confident rather than pleading. I was hoping we could have a small party here at home. Nothing big, just family and a few close friends. My parents exchanged a look I couldn't quite interpret. "Of course, sweetie," my mother said, reaching across the table to pat my hand. 18 is a big deal. We will make it special." "What did you have in mind?" my father asked, surprisingly engaged in the conversation. Encouraged, I pulled out a small notebook where I had jotted down some ideas. "I was thinking we could do a nice dinner. I can help cook. And maybe a cake. I have 5 friends I would like to invite." "Only 5. My mother looked surprised. "You can invite more if you want." I shook my head. 5 is perfect. They are the ones who matter. We discussed timing and menu options. I even offered to contribute some of my savings towards the food and decorations, which my father immediately refused. "This is our gift to you," he insisted. "You do not need to pay for your own birthday party." I left that conversation feeling more hopeful than I had in years. They seemed genuinely interested in making my birthday special. Maybe they had finally noticed me. Maybe things were changing. In the weeks that followed, I allowed my excitement to build. I invited my friends, all of whom enthusiastically accepted. I spent hours online researching recipes and decoration ideas. I even splurged on a new dress, a beautiful deep blue one that made me feel confident and grown up. It cost nearly 2 weeks of my library salary, but I convinced myself it was worth it for such a special occasion. I also had another secret I was planning to reveal at my birthday dinner. I had applied to several colleges, mostly within state, to keep costs down. But I had also applied to one dream school across the country, a prestigious university known for its literature program. To my shock, I had been accepted with a full scholarship. No one in my family knew about this application, and I was saving the news for my birthday. I imagined their proud faces when I shared this achievement. Maybe this would finally be the accomplishment that made them see me. As my birthday approached, however, I began to notice some worrying signs. My parents stopped mentioning the party. When I brought up specific details, they seemed distracted and vague in their responses. 2 weeks before the big day, I overheard my mother on the phone discussing Olivia's upcoming regional volleyball tournament, which was scheduled for the same weekend as my birthday. "It is such an important opportunity for her," my mother was saying. "The scouts from state will be there." My stomach tightened, but I pushed the feeling away. They would not forget. They had promised. 1 week before my birthday, I decided to confirm the plans. "Mom, I just wanted to check about Saturday. My friends will be coming around 6, right?" She looked momentarily confused, then her eyes widened in recognition. "Oh yes, your birthday. Of course. 6 is fine." "And we are still doing the dinner we talked about," I pressed. "Absolutely," she assured me, though she would not quite meet my eyes. "Everything is under control." I wanted to believe her, but the knot in my stomach grew tighter. Still, I continued my preparations. I cleaned the house top to bottom. I made a shopping list for the ingredients we would need. I confirmed with my friends. I hung my new dress carefully in my closet, running my fingers over the soft fabric and imagining the perfect evening ahead. The day before my birthday, I overheard another conversation, this time between my parents. "We will have to split up," my father was saying. "You can take Olivia to the tournament, and I will stay for Jean's thing." "But you know how Olivia gets before a big game," my mother replied. "She needs both of us there. Can't we just do Jean's birthday on Sunday instead? There was a pause before my father sighed. Let me talk to her. Maybe we can work something out. I slipped away before they could see me, my heart pounding. I waited for my father to approach me with this new proposal, but he never did. Perhaps he had convinced my mother to stick to the original plan. Perhaps everything would be okay after all. I went to bed that night with mixed emotions, excitement battling with anxiety. Tomorrow was my day, I told myself. Just one day out of the year that could be about me. Was that really too much to ask? I woke up on my birthday feeling a strange mix of excitement and dread. The house was quiet when I got up. No one waiting to surprise me with breakfast in bed or birthday wishes. I checked my phone to find messages from my friends, but nothing from my family, not even though they were just down the hall. I went downstairs and found my mother at the kitchen table scrolling through her phone while sipping coffee. "Good morning," I said, hovering in the doorway. She looked up momentarily, startled. "Oh, good morning. Sleep well." I waited, but there was no acknowledgement of the day. No happy birthday, no special breakfast, nothing. "It is my birthday today," I finally said, hating how small my voice sounded. Oh, my mother's hand flew to her mouth. "Of course it is. Happy birthday, sweetheart. I was just distracted with everything going on today." She got up and gave me a quick hug, then immediately returned to her phone. "Your father and I need to take Olivia to her tournament this afternoon, but we will definitely be back in time for your party. We will probably leave around noon and be back by 5, so that gives you an hour to get ready before your friends arrive." My heart sank, but I nodded. At least they would be back for the party. "What about the shopping for dinner?" I made a list. "Oh, I thought you could handle that," my mother said. "You know what you want better than I do anyway. There is money in the drawer by the fridge." And just like that, I was planning shopping for and preparing my own birthday dinner. But I was determined not to let it ruin my day. I would make this special with or without their help. After my family left, I drove to the grocery store and bought everything I needed. I spent the afternoon cleaning, decorating, and cooking. I made my mother's famous lasagna, a Caesar salad, and garlic bread. I set the table with our good dishes and put out some simple decorations I had purchased. Then I got myself ready, taking extra time with my hair and makeup before slipping into my new blue dress. By 5:30, everything was perfect. The food was keeping warm in the oven, the house looked festive yet elegant, and I felt beautiful and grown up. All I needed now was my family to return and my friends to arrive. 5:30 came and went. Then 5:45. At 6, my first friend arrived bearing a gift and birthday wishes. By 6:15, all 5 of my friends were there, but my family was still absent. I tried calling both my parents, but their phones went straight to voicemail. "Let us just start without them," I suggested, trying to hide my disappointment. "They must be running late." We had just served ourselves when the front door finally burst open at 6:30. My father entered first, looking harried, followed by my mother, who had her arm around Olivia. My sister's eyes were red and puffy, her face set in a scowl. Noah trailed behind, looking uncomfortable. "Sorry, we are late," my father announced. "The tournament ran over, and then there was traffic." "Happy birthday, honey," my mother added distractedly, still focused on Olivia. "Everything looks lovely." I introduced my friends, who politely said hello. An awkward silence fell as my family took their seats at the table. Noah gave me a small wrapped package under the table with a whispered, "Happy birthday, Jean," which was the most genuine moment of the entire evening so far. "What happened at the tournament?" I finally asked, noticing Olivia's mood. "She lost," my mother said before Olivia could answer. "The referee made a terrible call in the final set." "It was completely unfair," Olivia snapped. "He was blind or biased or both." "I am sure you played wonderfully anyway," I said, trying to be supportive despite my disappointment at the way the evening was unfolding. Olivia just glared at me. "What would you know about it? You have never played a sport in your life." "Olivia," my father warned half-heartedly. "What, it is true," she countered. "Miss Perfect with her books and her perfect grades has no idea what real pressure feels like." My friends exchanged uncomfortable looks. I tried to change the subject, asking everyone to help themselves to more food, but the mood was already soured. As dinner progressed, Olivia became increasingly difficult. She criticized the food. The lasagna is dry, dismissed my decorations. Balloons are for children, and made snide comments about my friends. My parents did little to rein her in, clearly more concerned with her feelings than with the fact that she was ruining my birthday. The tension reached a breaking point when my father brought out the cake my mother had picked up from the grocery store that morning. It was a generic sheet cake with "Happy Birthday, Jean" written in hasty blue icing. "I thought we were doing a homemade cake," I said quietly to my mother as she placed paper plates on the table. "I did not have time with the tournament," she whispered back. "This is just as good." As everyone sang an awkward rendition of "Happy Birthday," Olivia stood off to the side, arms crossed and rolling her eyes. When it came time to cut the cake, I stood to do the honors. Olivia chose that moment to reach for her water glass, accidentally knocking it over. The water splashed across the table and directly onto the front of my new blue dress. "Oops," she said, not sounding sorry at all. "My bad." I froze, water dripping from the dress I had saved weeks to buy the dress that was supposed to make this night special. "It is just water," my mother said quickly. "It will dry. Let me get a towel." But it was not just water. It was the final straw. While my mother dabbed at my dress with a kitchen towel, Olivia reached for the cake, apparently deciding she wanted a piece despite her earlier disdain. "Wait until Jean cuts it," my father said. "Why? It is just a stupid cake," Olivia snapped, and in a movement that could not possibly have been accidental, she pushed the cake. It teetered on the edge of the table before falling to the floor with a splat blue frosting spreading across the tiles I had mopped that morning. There was a collective gasp from my friends. Noah looked like he might cry. My father closed his eyes, clearly at his wits' end. "Olivia," my mother finally raised her voice. "That was completely uncalled for." "Whatever," Olivia said, tears suddenly streaming down her face. "No one cares about how I feel. I lost the most important game of the season today, but all anyone cares about is Jean's stupid birthday." With that, she ran upstairs, slamming her bedroom door so hard the windows rattled. My mother immediately moved to follow her. As she passed me, she squeezed my shoulder. "I am so sorry, honey. She is just upset about the game. You know how important volleyball is to her. Let me go talk to her, and then we will clean this up and figure something out." And just like that, she was gone, prioritizing Olivia's tantrum over my ruined birthday. My father gave me an apologetic look before following my mother upstairs. I stood in the middle of the dining room, my dress wet, my cake on the floor, and my heart in pieces. My friends looked on in uncomfortable silence, clearly unsure what to do or say. "I think I should go," one of them finally said. "Me too," another agreed. "I am really sorry, Jean." One by one, they made their excuses and left, taking their gifts with them with promises to give them to me another time. Only my closest friend Lucy lingered. "Are you okay?" she asked once everyone else had gone. I nodded mechanically, kneeling to clean up the ruined cake. This is pretty much how things always go around here. I do not know why I expected today to be any different. Lucy helped me clean up in silence. When we were done, she hugged me tightly. "You deserve better than this, Jean. You know that, right?" After she left, I sat alone at the dining room table, still in my damp dress, surrounded by the remnants of the party I had planned so carefully. Upstairs, I could hear my parents still talking to Olivia, consoling her about her game, completely forgetting that today was supposed to be about me. It was in that moment, sitting alone on my 18th birthday, that something inside me finally broke. But from that break came clarity. I knew what I needed to do. After cleaning up the last of the birthday mess, I went to my room and closed the door. I could still hear the murmur of voices from Olivia's room across the hall, my parents still comforting her hours after she had ruined my birthday. No one had come to check on me or apologize properly. No one had even noticed I had gone to my room. I sat on my bed and cried silently, letting out years of hurt and disappointment. But these were not just tears of sadness. They were tears of anger, of resolution, of a decision crystallizing in my mind. I was 18 now, legally an adult. I did not have to stay here. The thought hit me with such clarity that I stopped crying immediately. I did not have to stay in a home where I was constantly overlooked, where my achievements were dismissed, where my feelings never seemed to matter. I opened my laptop and logged into my email. There it was, the acceptance letter, from Westlake University, 3,000 miles away on the opposite coast. A full scholarship, including housing, a clean break. When I had applied, I had done so as a dream, never really believing I would go. I had assumed I would stay close to home, attend the state university like a dutiful daughter, and continue to orbit around my family. But now the prospect of a fresh start far away from the shadows of my sister's tantrums and my parents' indifference seemed not just appealing, but necessary. I had been planning to announce my acceptance at the birthday dinner, imagining a moment of pride and perhaps even regret from my parents that they had taken me for granted. Now I realized how naive that had been. More likely, my news would have been overshadowed by Olivia's tournament loss or some other drama. No, I would not give them the chance to diminish this achievement too. Instead, I would accept the offer, make all the arrangements, and leave without fanfare. The scholarship covered almost everything, and I had saved nearly $4,000 from my library job over the years. It would be enough to cover travel expenses, and whatever the scholarship did not. Once the decision was made, a strange calm came over me. I spent the rest of the evening researching logistical details. The fall semester started in 6 weeks. I could be ready by then. Over the next few days, I began implementing my plan with methodical precision. I confirmed my acceptance of the scholarship and completed all the required paperwork. I arranged for early move-in to the dormitories, citing family circumstances. I researched bus routes and booked a ticket that would get me to Westlake 2 weeks before classes started, giving me time to settle in and find a campus job. I sorted through my belongings, deciding what to take and what to leave behind. I realized how few material possessions actually mattered to me. Clothes, books, my laptop, and a few sentimental items were all I really needed. I began packing a little each day when no one was home, storing the packed boxes in the back of my closet, where no one would look. I withdrew my savings in small amounts over several trips to the bank, not wanting to raise suspicion with a single large withdrawal. I set up a new email account and phone plan that would activate when I arrived at Westlake. I even researched the local area, familiarizing myself with the campus and surrounding neighborhood. Through all of this, my family remained oblivious. Life returned to its normal patterns after my birthday disaster. Olivia continued to be the center of attention, especially as another tournament approached. My parents continued to take me for granted. No one noticed that I was quieter than usual, that I spent more time in my room, that I was slowly erasing my presence from the house. The only person I confided in was Lucy. I trusted her completely and knew she would keep my secret. "Are you sure about this?" she asked when I told her my plan. We were sitting in her car in the library parking lot after my shift, the only place I felt safe talking about it. "I have never been more sure of anything," I replied. "I cannot stay here, Lucy. I am suffocating." She nodded, understanding in her eyes. "What can I do to help?" "I need a ride to the bus station on August 12th, I said, "and I might need to store a few boxes at your place until I can arrange to have them shipped." "Consider it done," she promised, squeezing my hand. "I am going to miss you like crazy, but I get it. You deserve to be somewhere you are valued." The only other preparation left was the hardest part, writing a letter to my family. I drafted and redrafted it dozens of times, struggling to find the right tone. I did not want it to be angry or bitter, but I also needed to be honest. In the end, I kept it simple. "Dear Mom, Dad, Olivia, and Noah, by the time you read this, I will be on my way to Westlake University, where I have accepted a full scholarship. I have made arrangements for housing and everything else I need. I am not leaving to hurt you, but because I need to find a place where I can be seen and valued for who I am. For too long, I have felt invisible in this family, my feelings and accomplishments secondary to everyone else's. I will contact you when I am ready. Please respect my decision and my need for space. I love you all, Jean. I sealed the letter in an envelope and tucked it into my desk drawer ready for the day of my departure. With each box packed with each arrangement, I felt a mixture of emotions: sadness at leaving the only home I had ever known, anxiety about being on my own, but most of all, a growing sense of freedom and possibility that I had never experienced before. For the first time in my life, I was putting myself first, and it felt both terrifying and absolutely right. August 12th dawned bright and clear, a perfect summer day. It was a Tuesday, and I had carefully chosen this date knowing everyone would be out of the house. My father would be at work, my mother was taking Olivia shopping for new volleyball shoes, and Noah was at a friend's house for the day. I woke up early, my stomach, a knot of nerves and excitement. I had barely slept the night before, running through my mental checklist again and again. Now, in the quiet morning light, I moved with purpose. First, I placed the letter on my perfectly made bed where it would be easily found. Then I carried my 2 suitcases and backpack downstairs and out to the curb where Lucy would be picking me up in 20 minutes. I returned for one final sweep of my room, making sure I had not forgotten anything important. As I stood in the doorway, looking at the space that had been mine for the past 5 years, I felt a strange detachment. This small room with its faded blue walls had never really felt like mine. It had always been a temporary space somewhere I existed but never truly belonged. I heard Lucy's car pull up outside and knew it was time. I took a deep breath, closed my bedroom door, and walked out of my childhood home without looking back. "Ready?" Lucy asked. As I climbed into her car, my voice too tight to speak. She understood and simply squeezed my hand before pulling away from the curb. The drive to the bus station took 20 minutes, during which I alternated between doubting my decision and feeling absolutely certain it was right. Lucy helped me check my bags and waited with me until boarding time. "Call me when you get there," she said, hugging me fiercely. "And anytime you need to talk, I am always here for you." "Thank you for everything," I whispered, fighting back tears. "I do not know what I would have done without you." As the bus pulled away, I watched Lucy's figure grow smaller in the distance, the last tie to my old life fading from view. Then I turned my attention forward to the journey ahead. The bus ride was long, nearly 2 days, with transfers and overnight stops. I spent the time reading, sleeping when I could, and letting the reality of what I had done sink in. By the time we reached the final station, just 5 miles from Westlake University, I was exhausted but resolute. I took a taxi to campus where I was met by a resident advisor who had been informed of my early arrival. Her name was Tara, a friendly junior with a warm smile. "You must be Jean," she said, helping me with my bags. "We have got your room all set up in Maple Hall. It is not the newest dorm, but it has character and the best location on campus." My room was small but clean, with a simple twin-bed desk dresser and a window overlooking a grassy quad. I would be sharing a bathroom with 3 other girls, but for now I had the suite to myself since regular move-in was not for another 2 weeks. "The dining hall is on limited hours until the semester starts, but there is a cafe in the student union that is open daily," Tara explained. "And here is information about campus jobs if you are interested." I thanked her, and once she left, I sat on the edge of my new bed, overwhelmed by the sudden silence and solitude. I had done it. I had actually left home and traveled across the country to start a new life. The enormity of it hit me all at once, and I found myself crying, though, whether from relief, fear, or exhaustion, I could not tell. When the tears subsided, I unpacked my few belongings and made up the bed with the new sheets I had purchased for this very purpose. I placed my favorite books on the desk and hung up my clothes. By the time I finished, the small room already felt more like home than my bedroom back in Minnesota ever had. That evening, I walked around campus, orienting myself to my new surroundings. Westlake was even more beautiful than the pictures online had suggested, with historic brick buildings, towering oak trees, and carefully tended gardens. The August air was warm, but not as humid as I was used to, with a pleasant breeze carrying the scent of flowers and freshly cut grass. I found the library a magnificent four-story building, at the heart of campus, and felt an immediate sense of belonging. This would be my sanctuary, I decided. I would apply for a job here first thing in the morning. The first few days passed in a blur of administrative tasks and exploration. I secured a position at the library circulation desk, registered for classes, bought textbooks, and familiarized myself with the campus and surrounding town. I met with my academic advisor, a kind literature professor named Dr. Eleanor Palmer, who seemed genuinely excited about my academic interests and potential. "Your essay submission was one of the most impressive I have read in years," she told me, referring to the writing sample that had helped secure my scholarship. "I am looking forward to having you in my Introduction to Literary Analysis course this fall." Her words filled me with a warm glow of pride and validation that I had rarely experienced at home. Here, my academic achievements were not just noticed but celebrated. Here, being studious and thoughtful was valued. By the end of the first week, I had established a routine. Mornings were spent at the library, job afternoons exploring campus or preparing for the upcoming semester, and evenings reading or writing in my room. I had not yet turned on my old phone, not ready to face whatever messages awaited me there. 10 days after my arrival, the first of my new dormmates moved in. Her name was Emma, a freshman like me studying biology. She arrived with her parents, who helped her unpack, and then took us both out to dinner before departing. "Are your parents coming later?" Emma asked innocently as we walked back to our dorm. "No," I said simply. "I came on my own." Emma looked impressed rather than pitying. "That is brave. I was terrified to come here even with my parents helping. You must be really independent." Her comment made me pause. I had never thought of myself as brave or independent. Back home, I was just the responsible one, the boring one, the invisible one. But here, from an outside perspective, my actions looked like courage. The realization shifted something in how I saw myself. As more students arrived, I found myself making friends more easily than I ever had before. Without the shadow of Olivia's popularity or the weight of my family's expectations, I was free to be myself. And, to my surprise, people seemed to like the real me. 2 weeks after my arrival, I finally turned on my old phone. It immediately exploded with notifications. Missed calls, voicemails, text messages, all from my family. I took a deep breath and began to sort through them. The early messages were confused, then angry. "Where are you? How could you just leave? This is so irresponsible." Then came the pleading. "Please call us. We are worried sick. Just let us know you are safe." I sent a brief text to my parents. "I am safe and well. I need space and time. Please respect that. I will contact you when I am ready." Then I turned the phone off again, not ready for their immediate response. I had a new phone number now, which only Lucy had. Through her, I learned that my disappearance had thrown my family into chaos. "They called the police," she told me during one of our nightly calls. "But since you left a note and are 18, there was nothing the police could do. Your mom has been calling everyone you know, including me. I just said I knew you were safe but had promised not to say more." "How are they really doing?" I asked, partly dreading the answer, partly hoping they were falling apart without me. Lucy hesitated. "Not great, honestly. Your mom looks like she has not slept in days. Your dad seems completely lost. Noah keeps asking when you are coming home. And Olivia." She trailed off. "What about Olivia?" I pressed. "She is a mess, Jean. She skipped practice twice last week, which I have never seen her do before. And I overheard her yelling at your mom in the school parking lot, saying it was all their fault you left." I absorbed this information in silence, feelings too complex to name swirling inside me. I had not left to punish them, but I could not deny a small hurt part of me was satisfied that they were finally realizing what they had lost. "Are you okay?" Lucy asked gently. "With all of this?" I looked around my dorm room at the life I was building for myself, at the freedom I had claimed. "Yes," I said, and meant it. "For the first time in a long time, I think I really am." 2 weeks into my new life at Westlake, I finally gathered the courage to properly check my messages. Setting aside an entire evening, I sat cross-legged on my bed, and began the painful process of reading through everything my family had sent. The messages followed a predictable pattern. First came confusion and anger. My mother's initial voicemail was tearful but accusatory. "Jean, how could you do this to us? We are beside ourselves with worry. Call home immediately." My father's texts were more controlled but equally demanding. "This behavior is unacceptable. You need to contact us right now and explain yourself." Olivia, surprisingly, had sent only one message the first day: "Way to make everything about you again." The irony of that statement would have made me laugh if it had not hurt so much. Only Noah's messages broke my heart. "Jean, where did you go? When are you coming back? I miss you." As the days passed, the tone of their messages changed. Anger gave way to pleading demands to negotiations. "Please just let us know you are safe. We can talk about whatever is bothering you. If this is about your birthday, we are sorry." It was the superficiality of that last message that finally prompted me to call. They still did not understand. My birthday disaster had been merely the final straw, not the cause of my departure. I chose a time when I knew everyone would be home early evening on a Sunday. Taking a deep breath, I dialed. My mother answered on the first ring as if she had been sitting by the phone. "Jean, Tuma." Her voice was tentative, afraid I might hang up. "Hi, Mom," I said, my own voice steadier than I expected. "Oh, thank God," she breathed. "Where are you? Are you all right? When are you coming home?" "I am at college," I said simply. "Westlake University. I got a full scholarship." There was a moment of stunned silence. "Westlake? But that is across the country, and you never even told us you applied there." "I wanted it to be a surprise," I said, the bitter irony not lost on me. "I was going to announce it at my birthday dinner." Another silence, heavier this time. "Oh, Jean." I could hear commotion in the background, then my father's voice. "Is that Jean? Put her on speaker." Suddenly, I was talking to my entire family, their voices overlapping, as they all tried to speak at once. "Enough," I finally said, finding an authority in my voice I had not known I possessed. "I did not call to be yelled at or guilted. I called to let you know I am safe and to explain why I left." That silenced them. "I left because I was tired of being invisible in my own family." I continued the words I had rehearsed so many times, finally finding voice. Every achievement ignored, every need secondary to Olivia's wants, every birthday and special moment overshadowed. I left because I needed to find a place where I could be valued for who I am. "That is not fair," my mother protested, but her voice lacked conviction. "Is it not?" I challenged. "Can you honestly tell me you have given me the same attention, the same celebration, the same priority that you have given Olivia, or even Noah?" The silence that followed was answer enough. "We had no idea you felt this way," my father finally said. "That is part of the problem," I replied. "You never asked. You never noticed." "So what now?" my mother asked, her voice small. "Are you never coming home?" "I do not know," I answered honestly. "Right now I need space. I need to figure out who I am outside of our family dynamic. I need to heal." "Can we at least visit you?" my father asked. "Not yet," I said firmly, "but I will stay in touch. I promise I will not disappear again." After extracting that promise from me, they reluctantly accepted my boundaries. Before hanging up, Noah got on the phone alone. "I really miss you," he said, his voice small. "The house feels wrong without you." "I miss you too, buddy," I said, tears finally threatening, "but this is something I need to do." "I know," he said, surprising me with his understanding. "You deserve to be happy, Jean." Over the next few weeks, I learned through Lucy and occasional texts with my parents how my absence was affecting the family. Without me there to maintain the peace, cook meals, help with homework, and generally keep the household running, things were falling apart. My mother, who had relied on me to manage so many domestic details, was struggling to balance work and home responsibilities. My father, who had always retreated into work when family tensions rose, was forced to be more present and involved, something he was clearly uncomfortable with. Noah was withdrawing, spending more time in his room and less time engaging with the family. His grades were slipping, and his teacher had called home with concerns about his focus and participation. But the most dramatic change was in Olivia. Without me there to absorb her dramatic outbursts and take the practical consequences of her behavior, she was floundering. Her coach had benched her for missing practices. Her grades were plummeting. She had been caught at an unsupervised party where alcohol was present, resulting in a week of detention. "Your parents do not know what to do with her," Lucy reported during one of our calls. "They have never had to actually deal with the fallout of her behavior before, because you were always there to smooth things over." A month after I left, I received an email from Miss Winters, my former English teacher who had always been kind to me. "I hope this email finds you well, Jean," she wrote. "I wanted to let you know that your sister Olivia has been suspended for a week after an altercation with another student. I am concerned about her as this behavior is so out of character for your family. If you are in contact with your parents, perhaps you could encourage them to consider counseling for her. I hope your college experience is going well. The English department misses your thoughtful contributions." I sat with this information, trying to sort through my complicated feelings. Part of me felt vindicated that without me to hold things together, my family's perfect facade was crumbling. Another part felt guilty for finding satisfaction in their struggles. And a small, surprising part felt worried for them, especially for Noah, caught in the middle of it all. 6 weeks after my departure, I received a call from my father's cell phone. It was unusual for him to call directly, as most communication had been through my mother until now. "Jean," he said when I answered, his voice rough with emotion, "I owe you an apology, a real one, not the superficial ones we have been offering." I waited, shocked into silence. "I have been doing a lot of thinking since you left," he continued, "about the kind of father I have been, the kind of family we have created, and I am ashamed of what I see." He took a shaky breath. "We favored Olivia. We took you for granted. We expected perfection from you while excusing her every mistake. It was unfair, and it was wrong." Why, I asked the question that had haunted me for years. Why was she always more important? He was quiet for a moment. Olivia reminded me of myself as a teenager, outgoing, athletic, struggling academically. I wanted to give her the support I never had. Another pause. "And you were so capable, so self-sufficient. You never seemed to need us the way she did. That is not an excuse, just the painful truth I have been facing." "I needed you," I whispered. "I just learned not to show it because you were never there when I did." "I know that now," he said, his voice breaking. "And I am so, so sorry, Jean." That conversation marked a turning point. For the first time, someone in my family had truly acknowledged the dynamics that had driven me away. It did not fix everything, but it opened a door to possible healing. Over the following weeks, my father and I continued our conversations. My mother eventually joined them, though her recognition of the problems came more slowly and with more defensiveness. Noah and I spoke regularly, and I made sure he knew my leaving had nothing to do with him. Olivia remained the wild card. According to my parents, she alternated between blaming me for abandoning the family and blaming them for driving me away. She refused to join our phone calls and seemed to be spiraling further into rebellious behavior. Then, 2 months after I left, I received a letter. Not an email or a text, but an actual handwritten letter from Olivia. I stared at the envelope for a long time before finding the courage to open it. "Jean," it began without preamble, "I hate that you left. I hate that everything is falling apart. I hate that everyone keeps saying it is because of me. But most of all, I hate that they might be right." The letter continued a stream of consciousness, outpouring of feelings I had never imagined my sister harbored. "I was always jealous of you," she wrote. "Everything came so easily to you. School being good, making mom and dad proud. Everyone outside our house thought you were so perfect, all the teachers loved you, and I was just Jean's little sister who could never measure up. So I found the one area where I could shine brighter than you. I made sure home was the one place where I was the star, not you." Her honesty was brutal but illuminating. For the first time, I saw our family dynamic from her perspective. While I had felt invisible at home, she had felt invisible everywhere else, living in my academic shadow. I am not saying what I did was right, her letter continued. Especially ruining your birthday. That was cruel, and I knew exactly what I was doing. I am not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I see what I did now, and I am sorry. She signed it simply Olivia. As I folded the letter and put it back in its envelope, I felt something shift inside me. The anger and hurt I had carried for so long began to loosen its grip on my heart. Understanding did not erase the pain of the past, but it offered a path forward I had not seen before. My family was broken, yes, but perhaps not beyond repair. 3 months after I left home, I agreed to meet my family, not at our house where old patterns might too easily reassert themselves, but at a neutral location, a park halfway between my university and home. Lucy drove me there, offering moral support on the 2-hour journey. You do not have to do this, if you are not ready, she reminded me as we pulled into the parking lot. I know, I said, scanning the area for my family, but I think I am. I spotted them by the picnic tables near the lake. My parents standing awkwardly, looking older and more tired than I remembered. Olivia sitting on a bench, head down, hands fidgeting in her lap. And Noah, who saw me first and broke into a run, covering the distance between us in seconds and throwing himself into my arms. You came back, he cried, hugging me so tightly I could barely breathe. Just for today, I clarified, gently returning his hug. But I am really happy to see you. Lucy squeezed my shoulder and whispered, I will be at the cafe across the street. Text me if you need anything. I approached the rest of my family slowly, Noah's hand firmly in mine. My mother moved as if to hug me, then hesitated, unsure of her welcome. I made the decision for her, stepping forward into her embrace. She felt smaller, somehow more fragile than I remembered. Jean, she whispered, her voice thick with tears. Thank you for coming. My father hugged me next, a brief, awkward embrace that nevertheless conveyed genuine emotion. Olivia remained seated, eyes fixed on the ground. We sat at the picnic table, an uncomfortable silence falling over us, until Noah broke it by launching into stories about school, his soccer team, and the new video game he was obsessed with. His chatter eased the tension, giving us all time to adjust to being together again. Eventually, my father cleared his throat. Jean, we have been doing family counseling. All of us. It was Olivia's idea, actually. I looked at my sister in surprise. She met my eyes briefly before looking away again. We have been learning about family dynamics, my mother added. About how we created an environment where you felt unseen and unvalued. About how we put unfair expectations on both you and Olivia, just in different ways. We have a long way to go, my father admitted, but we are trying to understand how we got here and how to do better. I nodded, touched by their efforts, but still cautious. I appreciate that. It means a lot to know you are taking this seriously. We also wanted to hear from you, my mother said. Really hear you in a way we failed to do before. What was it like for you growing up in our family? It was the question I had waited years for someone to ask. For the next hour, I spoke more honestly than I ever had with my family. I told them about the constant disappointment of having my achievements overlooked, the exhaustion of being held to impossible standards while watching Olivia get away with everything, the loneliness of being the responsible one that no one really saw. My parents listened without interrupting, without defending themselves, occasionally wiping away tears. Noah leaned against me, his presence a comfort, and Olivia, to my surprise, paid intense attention to every word. When I finished, my father spoke. We failed you, Jean. There is no other way to put it. We became so focused on Olivia's needs that we took your stability for granted. We assumed your success meant you did not need our attention or praise. We were wrong, and we are deeply sorry. I always thought you had it all together, Olivia said, finally joining the conversation. You were so smart, so good at everything. The perfect daughter. I felt like I could never compete with that, so I had to find other ways to get attention. She looked down at her hands. I never realized you were hurting too. Our counselor helped us see how we set you both up in opposition to each other, my mother explained. Jean as the responsible academic one who never needed help, and Olivia as the challenging athletic one who needed constant support. We put you both in boxes that were too small and unfair. What happens now? I asked, not sure what I wanted the answer to be. That is up to you, my father said. We want you in our lives, but we understand that you need your independence. We respect the boundaries you have set. Would you consider coming home for Thanksgiving? My mother asked tentatively. Not to stay, just to visit. We could show you the changes we are trying to make. I considered the request. I might be able to do that, but I need to see consistent change first. This cannot be a temporary effort that fades once the crisis passes. They nodded in understanding. As we prepared to leave, Olivia asked if she could speak with me privately. We walked to the edge of the lake, watching ducks glide across the water. I read somewhere that when you grow up with siblings, you develop your personality in contrast to theirs, she said. Like, because you were the responsible one, I became the wild one. Because you were quiet, I became loud. We defined ourselves in opposition to each other. That makes sense, I admitted. Since you left, I have been trying to figure out who I am without you to define myself against, she continued. It is harder than I thought it would be. I know what you mean, I said. I have been doing the same thing at Westlake, trying to figure out who Jean is when she is not just the responsible older sister, the invisible daughter. And who is she? Olivia asked, genuine curiosity in her voice. I smiled, still figuring that out, but I like her so far. She is stronger than I thought. Olivia nodded. I am sorry for ruining your birthday, and for a lot of other things too. I know, I said simply. Thank you for saying it. We rejoined the family, and I said my goodbyes, promising to call more regularly and to consider the Thanksgiving invitation. As Lucy drove me back to campus, I felt lighter somehow, as if I had set down a heavy burden I had been carrying for years. Over the following months, my relationship with my family slowly evolved. True to their word, my parents maintained the changes they had begun. Our phone calls became more genuine with them, asking thoughtful questions about my studies and new friends. My father even arranged to visit campus for Parents' Weekend, taking a genuine interest in my life at Westlake. Noah and I developed a special bond through weekly video chats where we played online games together. Olivia and I established a tentative friendship through cautious text exchanges that gradually became more open and honest. I did go home for Thanksgiving, a brief 2-day visit that was awkward at times but marked by sincere efforts on everyone's part. The house felt different, the dynamic shifted. My parents had started date nights and individual activities with each child. Olivia was seeing a therapist and had joined the school newspaper, discovering a passion for photography. Noah was flourishing with the increased attention from our parents. As for me, I continued to build my life at Westlake. I excelled in my classes, made close friends, joined the literary magazine, and even started dating someone who saw and appreciated me for exactly who I was. I discovered a love for creative writing I had never fully explored before, and my professors encouraged me to consider it as a career path. The pain of the past did not disappear overnight, but it began to lose its sharp edges. I learned that forgiveness was not a single act, but a process, one that benefited me as much as my family. I learned that setting boundaries was not selfish but necessary for healthy relationships. Most importantly, I learned that I had value independent of my role in my family, that I deserved to be seen and heard and celebrated. My 19th birthday arrived in the spring semester. I celebrated with my college friends, a simple gathering in my dorm lounge with homemade cake and thoughtful gifts. That evening, I received a package from home containing cards from everyone and a beautiful journal from my parents, with an inscription that read, "For your stories which deserve to be told, with love and pride." Included was a letter from my mother in which she wrote, "I realized we never truly celebrated your achievements because we were too busy taking them for granted. Never again. We are so proud of the woman you are becoming, Jean. Thank you for giving us the chance to know her." As I sit here now reflecting on the journey of the past year, I understand that sometimes the most painful moments can lead to the most necessary growth. Sometimes you have to break a family pattern to forge a healthier one. Sometimes you have to walk away to find your way back on your own terms. My decision to leave home was not about punishment or revenge, though I cannot deny the satisfaction I felt knowing my absence forced my family to confront the dynamics they had created. It was about claiming my worth, finding my voice, and building a life where I was valued not for what I did for others but for who I was. Sometimes you have to let your old world collapse to build a new one worthy of who you are becoming, and that might be the most valuable birthday gift I ever gave myself. Have you ever had to walk away from a situation to make people realize your worth? Let me know in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more real-life experiences. And if you know someone who might need to hear this message, share it with them. Remember, sometimes setting boundaries is not just an act of self-protection, but an act of self-love. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it helps you find the courage to prioritize your own happiness too.